Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright.
Yep. Yeah. I got something.
That's
for
amazing.
I
did not even. I love that.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Lazy Booking Podcast live on A2D Radio. What a week already, and we are on the road to WrestleMania. Because today we are going to talk about and discuss the Elimination Chamber and the fallout, which we saw some of last night on Monday Night Raw. I'm Chrome, as always, joined by my buddy right here, one Mr. Eric Archer, back from vacation, buddy. How was your vacay?
It was nice. I became a luchador. I don't know if you heard the news from Cozumel, Mexico, but I became an honorary luchador, as you can see in this picture right here. I don't know how close I can get, but I'm right there with the mask. I'm now Enrique Alaguila. That's Eric the Eagle for those at home. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the frame is all luchadors and lucha and stuff. So I recommend those that take a trip to Cozumel to check out the lucha wrestling, because it was fun and entertaining, and they love their wrestling. So, it was a lot of fun. It's good to be back.
That's awesome.
Lot to talk about.
We missed. You missed a lot. Listen, last week Billy filled in. We had a lot that happened last week, and even more this week. Shout out to our doctor, our show sponsor, Dr. Paul Vidal at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Physical locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. No appointment necessary. Any aches, pains, anything long-lasting or brand new that's coming up that's physically wearing you down, please contact him and his award-winning team. They'll give you a little peekaboo. They'll check you out, and they'll get you back to feeling your physical peak. That's specializedphysicaltherapy.com. So you missed last week. We had the AJ Styles news, and before this show ends, I and everybody here would love to get your thoughts on that, and we'll save that for the end of the show. But let's dive into our opening topic. Oh, and before we do, Facebook, YouTube, X, wherever you're at, joining us, watching us, please like, subscribe, follow, set alerts, and most importantly, comment in, join our conversation. You're going to see your comments pop up, much like these couple we already have in here, like this beautiful vixen right here.
You're making Mrs. Arch look bad. She's going to have to get on here at some point.
Hey, listen, I mean, we love a good comment every now, even if it embarrasses us. I love you, babe. Thank you. That's my fiance. Dynasty, as always, already jumping in. So does that make you S.A. Rios' brother or cousin?
Sure.
That's the answer. Sure. And
C.
Yeah, and we have Hove.
Real quick, I got a funny story. So one guy came out, so his name was La Tequila, and then the referee's name's Taco, and Taco was the most over referee ever, because Taco took a couple ref bumps, and I mean, he was rolling around like he had to be like, he was probably the heaviest referee I've ever seen, but he got the job done. But it was hilarious, and we may have some clip or something to show somewhere down the road where I got to have one of the, I think it was La Tequila. He cut a nice little promo for our show. So shout out to La Tequila in Cozumel for taking the time and the effort to do that, because he didn't speak a lot of English, so he had to get his translator buddy to kind of say what I wanted him to say. So it was, but it was really cool.
Hey, listen, it's cool. We'll put it on our social, as well as maybe we'll load it in and show it next week on the show.
Lazy Booking has become international.
It is.
We're making our rounds.
Yeah, word on the street is their owner is giving us a follow here. So shout out. Pat saying the box, shake my head. I'm excited. It's on the agenda too, Pat. Appreciate that. Greg chiming in. What up, boys?
What's up,
Pove
Greg?
saying that's so cool. Pove will be with you guys later on today for Flyers Talk A2D. So make sure you guys stick with A2D Radio at the 9 o'clock hour to talk hockey with those boys. But listen, let's dive into the opening topic here, Eric. We're going right into Elimination Chamber. That's right, head first. The WWE Elimination Chamber got me excited for WrestleMania. Agree or disagree? Again, wherever you're at, please like, subscribe, follow, set your alerts, and most importantly, right now, join our conversation. We love to get your feedback as we go on with the show. We'll react to it. We'll talk with you. But Eric, agree or disagree? How did you feel about the Elimination Chamber and it's teeing up the WrestleMania season, the road to WrestleMania?
So I overall enjoyed Elimination Chamber. Yeah, we alluded to the one thing that was kind of suspect, and I mean, it is what it was what it was. But
our expectations were not high.
Right. Those that thought that Chris Jericho was really going to come out of that box, even those who didn't know that he's still under AEW contract. That's one. And two, you're not going to debut a star like that. I mean, think if you had anybody that was going to debut in a box and then a coffin, I mean, Danhausen is the guy. But nonetheless, the show I thought was very solid. I think we now know the direction for almost all of WrestleMania, with the exception of the WWE Championship match. But we have a direction of where we think it's going to go. And Elimination Chamber didn't have to get me excited for WrestleMania. I think as a wrestling fan, I'm just excited for this time of year as it is. But I think Elimination Chamber kind of got me excited because we weren't really sure. I mean, I think we're going to talk about the results, but on the women's side, I think it's the right person, but there was questions whether they were going to go that direction because there was a clear SmackDown person that could have won that match, and there's probably another Raw one that I wouldn't have been too upset with, but the right person won, and I'm intrigued about that match. I'm also intrigued about what's going to happen with the WWE Championship as it continues, and we still don't know for sure. But overall, I think it got me more excited than I already was. I'm already excited this time of year. It starts at the Royal Rumble. It goes to the Elimination Chamber, which sometimes is kind of like that filler show. The last few years, they've stepped up their game. I mean, last year you had the Cena heel turn, and this year really didn't know where they were going in both matches. I mean, you had a clear favorite in both matches, but it was kind of not completely. It wasn't completely solid in either one of those matches. So I think they did a good job of adding some intrigue to both chamber matches. I think filled their purpose, and I think it's got me to the point where I'm more excited than I was the week prior. I agree to the poll.
Yeah, listen, I agree to the poll. Again, I think our expectations from recency bias of disappointment has clouded some of our views on what we expect to come out of these events, right? It's been a little bit of a spotty creative path that we've been taking. But you got everything that you look for in it. You had surprises. Love it or not, you had a debut. I'm not as down on the box as people seem to be. I do think the crowd reaction was less about who it was and more about who it wasn't, because Chicago is a very smart crowd, and that's somebody who's been cheered in Chicago before. So I don't think it's necessarily about who it was, but again, it's perception is reality, right? So you set this thing up. In fairness to WWE, they set it up to be something ridiculous. So to expect something serious, I think, is a little crazy. And then when we're doing those kind of off the rail characters down, a Chris Jericho, the human being, right? Me and Billy talked last week. Like Billy said, I don't see any holes in the box. If it's breathing in there, it ain't gonna be by the time they open it, right? But the character Danhausen makes sense in the presentation. I didn't love the dancers. Could have did a little bit without that, or like it came off very Brodus Clay. Somebody better call my mama. So it was a little weird for me in that sense.
The one thing that I'll say, I'm sorry about Danhausen. I think the recovery from last night on Raw, I think that segment was very well done.
Agreed.
And I like how they played into. He kind of was just like delusional and like, oh, I got cheered, and then of course we get the infamous first curse, which wound up working. So interesting to see who he curses next and where that goes. But I think, yeah, you're right. It wasn't going to be somebody serious that was going to be in a WrestleMania main event or a championship caliber. Not to take anything away from Danhausen. We know based on
he's not a main eventer. He's
right.
He's a Santino. That he's on that tier of. He's a very talented guy. He can wrestle if you really watch him.
Yeah,
but it's a character. He's a character. He's one that you're going to get that. You're going to get those moments like a last night where he's going to interact with talent, and you're going to get those kind of lighthearted, funny moments. But again, to your point, right? The recovery was great. I thought that, having him put the curse on Dominic and the result, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I enjoyed that part of it. I didn't love the dancers out of the box, but again, taking that out of the we knew that WWE's been looking at Danhausen for a long time. This isn't a surprise. It was a surprise because he kind of was out of sight, out of mind. So it didn't come to unless one of us mentioned it, and I don't remember. I can't recall over the last few weeks. You'd think I've taken a bunch of bumps, but
no, I don't think we discussed him at all. I think what also that didn't really play into that Chicago crowd. I mean, I'm sure there's a good amount of them that watched AEW and saw his run in AEW, but I still think out there's people that just watch WWE, and maybe they're not watching the indies either, and they don't know who this guy is. So they're like looking like, and they're thinking, oh, it's going to be Chris Jericho or some big name. And this guy comes out smaller in stature and with the dancers, like you said, and it's like, what the heck is this stuff? And not knowing what they're getting from Danhausen. I think as it moves along and we start to see his character evolve in WWE world, we're going to see the fans start to really take on this character, and I think it's going to work, and they're going to sell a boatload of merch. That's for sure.
Listen, I want to say this about Danhausen. I don't want to dive. I don't want to get too far off the rails, but I'll say this about Danhausen. Danhausen is somebody that should have never made it to WWE, and for all the love and adoration that Joe Hendry gets, it's because on the independent scene, when he wasn't getting the breaks, he had to do something that was completely outside of the box and had to make himself stand out. And that was incorporating the music and the promos and the kind of spoof songs that would make fun of his opponents. And it made him stand out. And it was the internet and how he utilized social media and YouTube and all of that. Danhausen, in a very different but very same way, is exactly what that was. It was somebody who shouldn't have made it. And on the independent scene, he came up with this character, which seems completely ridiculous, but people fell in love with him. He's been hilarious on social media. He's really, really good on social media. I thought that his character had moments in AEW, but then and again, this is what AEW does. They use them and then they don't. And I don't think he was given enough of a screen time there. I think he actually fit that company if they utilized him right, but they didn't. It's the same thing that WWE's done, where the box got too, the lack of a better term, the cupboard got too full, and you start throwing things in a box and storing them away. And that's unfortunately what happened to Danhausen. But there's a place for him in WWE. Particularly, think about what moments on the screen with like an R-Truth could be, and how like comedic gold that stuff could be. So I understand the trepidation, and if people haven't watched him in AEW or on the independent scene, I could see how that initial opening or debut is off-putting. But I would caution people to give it a little bit of time, a little bit of development, and don't look at him in terms of being a top tier or mid tier talent. Put him in terms of the Santinos, the R-Truths of the world, even though Truth can work like a son of a bitch, and we know, and so can Santino. This guy can too. But take that character for what those characters are, and that's where I think his mold will fit. And he's young, so he could be he's young enough where he could be with the company and fulfill those roles when an R-Truth steps aside. It's a different comedy, but it's the same idea. It's slapstick comedy, but with to the extreme with a ridiculous character. I would just say, give it time, and I don't think this will be as disappointing as the gobbledygooker at Survivor Series. So
no, definitely not.
Just want to make sure I throw that out there. A couple more comments. We'll dive back in because I had a few more comments to about the rest of the card. But Greg says, I'm going to disagree with the poll. It means Mania. It's Mania. Who isn't excited already? Well, basically, all right. But the way they came to these outcomes was strange in the moment and didn't fire me up. That's fine. I get it.
Yeah,
thank you, Michael.
Fans
Appreciate
like us,
you.
we're excited for WrestleMania no matter what. But I also think, to Chrome's point, things have been kind of inconsistent with story in the last several months. And I think this kind of put things into motion and we still don't know what's going to happen with the WWE Championship match. I mean, that could be a couple different options. We're not going to talk all about
I don't want to
that,
go down that. I don't want to get there yet.
Yeah,
I don't want to go down that.
We still don't know for sure. So I think there's excitement there and intrigue to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah, Pat says Women's Chamber was good. AJ was expected. Finn and Punk was a good match, but not needed. And the Men's Chamber was more for Seth freaking Rollins, and Danhausen seems like the new Santino comic role. Yes, exactly, Pat. 100%. Matt says, Mommy better beat Jade Cargill.
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
We're gonna get into that too. Greg, my dudes, what's up? Greg says Rhea is gonna destroy Jade, and I'm all here for it. Jade is boring. A lot going on that front too. Getting back to Chamber though, the surprises. Somebody references Seth Rollins makes his return. I thought on Friday night that we'll go. We'll knock the Seth part of this out of the way first. I thought that Friday night, when they revealed it being some random person, I didn't think about them setting up for a Chamber, right? I thought, you know what? Bronson's hurt now. This is like we got to get out of this. So we'll throw a random guy out there, and it can be kind of forgotten about that this whole time. It was just people trying to, like copycats, right? Like, like a better term, like a serial killer copycat. I thought they were going to go down that route as the exit strategy to get out of this as quickly as possible. So I don't think I necessarily, but obviously when he shows up the next night, I'm like, okay, something's happening here. And then, you obviously have one gets all the security away, and that opens up the door, literally, for Seth to be able to enter the Chamber and take Logan Paul out, which then leads to the fallout on Raw, which again, we won't dive in there. But I thought that was well executed as well. I didn't expect Randy Orton to win. So I look at the win. I thought it was a tremendous idea, because we have talked for months, both off the air and on the air, about can we get Cody and Randy at WrestleMania, please? We need that match. And I could be wrong. At first, I thought, well, maybe this ends up being like a fatal four-way at Mania, where you get Cody, Jacob, Orton, everybody gets in on it. But the long-term storytelling, right? Randy didn't pull the trigger when they were, I think, in Australia, wherever they were, for the overseas pay-per-view, France, wherever the hell they were at. But this was
they were in that was King of the Ring, wasn't it?
Right. And
Yeah.
then you have the promo with Cody talking to Sami Zayn on Raw about how that's on you. You took your eye off the ball. That doesn't mean that I had any nefarious means to win this match and get in. And then you see Cody takes his eye off the ball, gets in there. Randy ends up pulling the trigger this time and getting himself in. And again, I actually am I hope he wins it. But now this might be that match, because they set it up on the post show, Eric, with Aldis is getting tired of Drew. So now it's like, I feel like as much as we wanted Drew to get this, like, I feel like Cody now has to win this match and carry it short term. He can lose it at Mania in 6 weeks. I feel like he has to carry the title now in against Randy Orton. You could do Jacob Fatu and you could do Drew McIntyre on their own. You don't need everybody in it. It's probably going to be something like that. But I to me, this is the path to Cody and Orton, and they have faced each other one time at WrestleMania 26 in a triple threat that included Ted DiBiase Jr. But now at this point in their career, to get that one-on-one, man, like, I thought brilliant move to have Orton. It's hard to think that a 14-time champion is off the radar, but he really was. We thought of every reason for everybody else but him to win this match, and Randy Orton did it.
Yeah, I was also surprised, but the story that they're telling regarding those two, and it goes back to legacy, like you mentioned, there's a lot of layers to that story, and we've seen little breadcrumbs along the way. We've seen it. You mentioned King of the Ring. You mentioned some of the promos that they've had where Randy's looking at the title when Cody was champion. You've seen a lot of that. So looking back in hindsight, not a big surprise if they go that route. But I don't think they are. I think we are still going to get the fatal four-way. I think Drew, and it would be a shame, Drew's finally champion going into WrestleMania, and then you take it from him, and then you go that route. But I think I'd get over it very quickly if they do Randy versus Cody, because it's the match that everybody's wanted to see. But I just don't think they're going that route now. I think it'll be a fatal four-way, but because I don't know what you do with Jacob if you don't have him in the main event. I think it's kind of where that story has been: Drew, Cody, Jacob. So if you take Jacob out of that equation, what is there for him at WrestleMania? That's the only hesitation that I have for not going the one-on-one match. The other thing that we did not mention, you mentioned Nick Aldis. What if this is the way to get Nick Aldis in the ring at WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre?
I mean, I'm all for it. I've been begging for it.
Absolutely.
For 2 years, I've wanted.
At the end of the day, whatever winds up happening here, I think we're going to get a good quality match with a ton of story and intrigue, because any of these four guys I could see any of those guys walking out as champion. And I mean, I think for all four of them, there's a legitimate case for them to be champion after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree. And to what you just said there, I am dying to get a Nick.
I know you are.
I've been asking for years, Eric. Before we took a break with this show, honestly, when we had Nick Aldis as a guest on this show 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, when he was the NWA champion, we talked about how we hoped one day this guy would get a WrestleMania match or an opportunity to, and we haven't seen it. I'd love to see it. I thought last year, when I was in this very ring helping to kind of preview some WrestleMania stuff, I wanted Randy Orton's mystery opponent to be Nick Aldis. I thought that was an opportunity. So no, I'm cool with that. I feel like in a fatal 4-way, it doesn't do it for me. I don't love fatal 4-way matches. I don't love men's triple threat matches at Mania. I can't say the same for the women because it almost feels like every time they do one for the women, it knocks it out of the park. The men's always fall flat to me at WrestleMania, with the exception of, and it was a good match, but it was short, was WrestleMania 22 with Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Orton. It was I thought a really, really good match, but it was short. I never get excited. The women nail it every time, but I just don't feel like the men ever live up to that same bar that the ladies set. So I don't want to see triple threat and fatal 4-way men's match unless it's a fatal 4-way elimination match, and they never do those. And if they want to give me a fatal 4-way elimination match where you're pinned, you're out, you're pinned, you're out, I'm in. But they don't do those, so I don't want to see it. So I don't. I'm hoping that we get to Cody and Orton, and I want Randy to get to 15.
Question for you.
Sure.
Say they do Cody versus Randy. Is that your night 1 main event, or is that your night 2 over Punk and Roman?
No, it's your night 1. Punk and Roman has to be night
really?
2. Yeah. There's a difference between the deep-seated hatred between Punk and Reigns. Even if it's not in real life, it's not, that resentment's not there anymore. There's a big difference because of the reality and how intense that was, as opposed to Cody, who has a history as Orton as his mentor. I don't believe that anything right now that they could do is bigger than Punk and Roman. And because of what we've gotten already, I think that they've solidified why this should be the night 2 main event.
I don't disagree with you, but I think it's closer than you think. I think this Cody Randy story is decades old. And so is Roman and Punk. But
let's not forget though, Eric, they just had a match like 6 months ago. That does factor into this.
Yeah, but
we just saw it.
Think for the championship, and if Cody's your QB1, if that's a one-on-one match, I mean that. I just think it's closer that it could. I mean, I could see that opening night 2 rather than having it night 1, and then you have something else. I don't know. I just think Cody Randy deserves to be on night 2. I'm a believer in night 2 being the main event. I think night 1 is a nice moment, and yeah, it counts as a main event. But I know how you feel about it. I know you feel the opposite. But I think that Cody Randy story, a lot of people have been waiting for that to culminate.
Braska chiming in, Cody Rose, Randy Orton, WrestleMania 42. Book it. Brian Daly at Flyers Talk A2D chimes in. What's up, fellas? I think there's aspects of WrestleMania that I got a bit more excited for. He says, I do think they're building towards Orton and Rhodes for the championship, though a Drew Aldis match or through a, oh no, though and a, Jesus, I can't read today. And a Drew and Aldis match at WrestleMania. Sorry, guys. And then we have, let's see what else we got here. We have Dynasty chiming back in only because you can't talk about the good triple threat. Well, I forgot about that one. I'll be honest. Yeah, that's another one. Benoit, I'll say the name Benoit, HBK, and Triple H. It's clear. We did talk about that. We brought that up a few weeks ago when we went over our top 10 WrestleMania main events. So we did mention that. But I just can't look at that same. Agree. Agree. Three-way dance is better than triple threat. I totally agree. Cody wins Friday, and then Jacob, Drew, Sammy for the number one contender.
I mean, I could easily see Drew getting disqualified on purpose or something. Some like chicken shit stuff to keep the title, because it feels like his back's against the wall due to what he did, and I think Drew walks out with the championship still. I do. It would be a shame if Drew didn't get the main event WrestleMania, even though at the cost of Nick Aldis. I mean, like I said, I'd probably get over it really quickly, but Drew has, like, we talk about Drew not winning big matches and not getting opportunities in main events, and now he's finally getting a WrestleMania main event, possibly in front of a live crowd. I think it's just
he did win the title we talked about how the opener and the main event can be almost just as important. He won the title at 40 in the opener.
I know, but
it counts. That's a world title win at WrestleMania, a WWE title win at WrestleMania. It's huge.
I know, but look what happened right after. Like, it's like he didn't walk in as champion either. So it's like him getting to walk in as champion.
I don't ever care about that stuff.
I do.
You're in the title match either way, right? So to me, that's the spot. Whether you go in as the challenger, or you go in as the champion. He won a title match. He walked out as a champion and had that. There is that visual that's there. There is video that proves it with background and pictures of him holding a title up in the ring at WrestleMania. Now, yes, we know what we got after the fact, and we got the Priest cash in, but it's there. It's documented. He became a champion at WrestleMania. He had that moment, and at that time, people mentioned what he lost because of COVID and said, even though he dropped the title to CM Punk, even though he dropped the title to Damian Priest, they gave him the moment, the 6 minutes or whatever it was, 7 minutes, with the crowd pop of him holding the title high at the end of a match at WrestleMania.
I get it, but where he was then versus where he is now, like, he went on a tremendous losing streak, if you recall, and it didn't look like he was ever getting the championship back. And here he is. And now,
but this is where the debate comes in then, because we're pissed that Finn Balor got in the position that he was. Drew is the champion. That's fine. But, like, again, to me now, I'm looking at the bulk of everything. What has he done over the bulk of the year that makes me think that he deserves to go in or go out of WrestleMania any more than anybody else? He's barely defended it since he's had it. And now I'm not necessarily against your argument, but if we're coming down on Finn, who was hot-shotted into a title picture the same way Drew was, after, by the way, he lost like 8 times to Cody. Not really 8, but I'm exaggerating. A bunch of times to Cody. It doesn't make me feel that, well, now he has it, so we got to make him hold on. Like, I feel like if he's transitional to get to this match, if it's an audible that they're calling, I'm for it. I think a Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton match, whether it's night 1 or night 2, is so much more compelling than anything that Drew McIntyre could pull off at WrestleMania right now.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But comparing Drew McIntyre to Finn Balor situation,
it's the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Drew has been booked as a top guy,
but he loses everything, so it doesn't matter.
Finn Balor has been relegated to tag team pinfalls and a lackey sitting in the back playing video games. We've talked about this.
But
This
Drew
is
lost
not,
everything.
Not the same thing. Not
you
even
says
close.
you say it's about wins and losses. Perception is reality.
But I also,
they both
if
did
you're booked
nothing
as a
but
top
lose.
guy,
If actually, in fairness, whether it's tag or not, Finn has won more in the last 2 years in big matches than Drew McIntyre has.
what big matches Finn Balor won in the last 2 years?
Tag title is tag title.
Oh, come on. Against the War Raiders? Come on, man.
Listen, first of all, the War Raiders are very undervalued.
Yeah, they got
WWE.
squashed a couple weeks ago. That's how they feel about them. Let's come on. Like, you can't compare the two.
It
You
is.
can't.
It's the same.
All of a sudden,
argument.
I earned a championship match. Okay. I'm not coming out here for a handout. You got 2 handouts.
Eric, Drew lost how many matches to Cody, and then Cody doesn't get
But he's
a
still
rematch.
being booked as a top guy. That's a difference.
That's where we disagree, because I don't feel like he was a top guy because they booked him to look like a whiny baby who did nothing but lose.
But he wasn't in the back playing 2K25.
I don't care. I'd
playing
rather
with his
I'd rather him be out of sight, out of mind than look like a moron who just cries on TV. And I love Drew.
But he
But
was
yeah,
still he was still getting over with his annex online. Like, that was the difference. Like, Drew is still putting in the effort to get over.
Correct. But I felt like the antics on television got very old. He's tremendous on social media. But even now, it's like, if the whole reason to suffer through this, Drew's going to get in on every match thing, was to get to Nick Aldis, I'm all for it. But if this whole story is to get to Cody versus Jacob versus Drew, I am incredibly annoyed already with his title run.
No, Randy's going to be in that match. Randy's still
and
be
Randy,
in that match.
right?
He won
And
the
Randy.
Elimination
But I'm
Chamber.
saying is to get to something that involves Cody and Jacob.
I get it, but
you know what I mean.
But that story's been going on for months now, so it's
And
like
it's-
you're
and it's
taking
going
that
nowhere.
story that you've already told, and you're just going to pivot to that. Not that I would be against Randy versus Cody, but
right.
Like I said at the beginning, what do you do with Jacob Fatu after that? Is
Right.
my question. Like, where's he go?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they could do Jacob versus Drew or Drew versus Aldis. And it doesn't necessarily need. The hell was that?
What's that?
What was that?
Huh?
Did you throw that?
Oh, the kid's in the shower. She's singing.
Oh. I was like, what the hell was that? It was like a I don't even know. It's like you had a moment there. I lost my train of thought at this point. No, I will be extremely disappointed, as disappointed with this run as the booking for the last 2 years of him, if that's what we end up getting. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate it. I hate it. Like, I don't think Drew should be champion right now. I've said that before. I think he deserved a great title run, but I don't think it was yet because of the way he's been booked.
Well,
they needed him to win more big match. They needed him to not be in the title match 6 times a year for the last 3 years and never win.
I think we talked about this earlier in the year where at the time we had Punk and Cody as the champions. He had 2 babyface champions. And I think if Cody wasn't getting as much flack as he was being champion with no intrigue, there was no adversity. And I think Drew was just that person at the right place, right time to get the title off of Cody and go a different direction for WrestleMania. I think that's the only reason Drew is champion. But at the same time, I think he's doing what a heel is supposed to do. He's conniving his way out of matches. He's cheating. He's costing others matches. Like, he's doing what a heel is supposed to do as champion. Like, they're not supposed to look strong. They're supposed to, get out of matches like a chicken shit. They're supposed to just, connive their way through. And I think
Yeah.
he's done that very well, if
No,
anything.
I agree. It's just the exact same execution every week. I don't feel like there's diversity in how they're executing that. That's where I come. It's, you know, I agree with you. I understand with the role of a heel. I love a great heel, but I also like a little diversity in the execution of how the heel pulls off their nefarious tactics. I don't feel like we're getting that with Drew. It's the same exact thing every single week.
I get it.
Now, again, if that is to get to a Nick Aldis through basically just throwing all caution to the wind, being a complete outlaw, and that's why we do that to get to then I'm in. But if that's not the end game for Drew, I don't care then. I think it's terrible. Let's see. Question: if Finn would have become the Demon, would he have gotten a bigger pop? Maybe. I don't know that we're going to get the Demon for a little bit. Listen, again, whether we agree or disagree that he should be in this spot, I think it has changed the trajectory of the character by putting him in this for the better, because I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more big time moments for Finn as a face, which seems to be where we're headed, right? So we know it's not going to be for the Intercontinental title. I wouldn't mind seeing it for that AAA title at WrestleMania, though.
Yeah, I think he has a defense coming up, if I'm not mistaken. But I just don't understand this entire booking situation with Dom and Finn. And I mentioned it a few weeks ago where I think the opportunity was lost, where they could have had a banger of a WrestleMania match for the gold. But at the same time, I am glad that Penta didn't lose his 9 millionth match for the Intercontinental title.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm intrigued to see what they do at WrestleMania with Penta now.
And Pat, to piggyback off what you're saying, I do think that the Demon is coming back, but I think that's saved for WrestleMania to get.
Yeah, I think you're going to get Finn and Dom in some capacity, but I think you're right, Chrome, in that we're going to see the Demon at some point, but I think it's got to be something. And WrestleMania, I mean, arguably that could be where he comes in. I mean, there's no bigger stage than Mania, but I think it has to be for something like of value. And I think the Intercontinental title would have worked, but they decided to go another direction with that, which is what it is.
And I'm very excited for that. So yeah. So, we have Rhea Ripley come out of this as well, right? She ends up winning. Thank God we did not get a Tiffany Stratton win, because I completely was sold that it was going to be Tiffany. We had a whole big thing last week where we were trying to work it out. So I'm glad that we didn't just jump right back into the same old thing, because since she's been back, we've jumped back into the same old thing instead of getting what we both believe should be a heel turn for her at this point to change the character up. But we have Rhea, we have Jade. This is a big time match. This is a match that people wanted to see when Jade got signed. It was one of the first matches that was mentioned out of the mouths of people. And Eric, why don't you set us up? Because this is already starting to get a little bit dirty, right? We saw it last year with Tiffany and Charlotte. Things got personal. Let's see real quick. Let me jump. Not impressed with the current WWE product. Michael Hay says, why aren't they doing Gunther? So
we don't know if they're doing Gunther versus Lesnar at Mania yet. We don't know what Gunther's doing yet.
Here's what I'll say, Michael, and we talked about this last week. If it's your first time joining us, appreciate you. Please come back and see us on Tuesday nights here on AT Radio.
You, Mike. Appreciate it.
My suspicion is the character of Gunther at this point, when he's facing a high caliber talent by the likes of Brock Lesnar, We're going for careers at this point. So I think Brock sticks in. And if the rumors are true and he's done at some point this year, I think we get to SummerSlam. It's in Minnesota where Brock's from. I think that is where we get Brock and Gunther. I think at WrestleMania, it was teed up at the Royal Rumble, and I think we have to follow through in the execution. The open challenge, we went on a whole thing last week, but again, I'm going to mention again in case you weren't here last week. It can't be anybody other than Obafemi. And Obafemi not only has to be the mystery opponent, he needs to take Brock down at WrestleMania. So
if you're gonna shoot Obafemi to the top, that's the way to do it.
Yes, so
it is. I mean, there's you got no argument there with me at all on that.
Yeah.
But I think too, if they did Gunther versus Lesnar, I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
No, I'd be fine with it, but I don't think that's the route they're going. The character now for Gunther is in a different. He can go and have a one-on-one match with Dragon Lee on Raw, and it's fine.
And that match was excellent.
Yeah,
excellent match. Now I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna go with Mysterio and Gunther at WrestleMania because it's kind of leaning into what happened last night with the mask and. Ray's probably not too far away from retirement either. He's already in the Hall of Fame.
Good call. I didn't think about that.
I think there's a possibility we see that. And I got that from Nick earlier today. Shout out to Staskin. He pointed out he thought it was going to be Mysterio. And I agree because he's towards the end of his career and it plays into that Gunther story. Now, Mysterio, say what you will, hasn't done a whole lot the last couple of years. He's still a huge name. He's still super over. There's nothing wrong with that match, and he'll put on a good match with Gunther.
He's the most iconic. He's the number one luchador in the history of professional wrestling. So and I'll tell you what, we're not going to go down a whole big Gunther conversation again this week, but I'm going to say this: for anybody who bitched about the Cena end and everything else, there is nobody right now that has more heat in an arena than Gunther. It is working. Every bit of it is working to this point. Yep. So everybody that complained and bitched about it, they are getting over on us, and it is awesome to see.
One more thing on Gunther, whether you like him or you don't like him, you can't wait to see him lose. And whoever gets that opportunity down the road is going to be a made man. Mark my words on that.
100%. 100%. They are building him up to be a marquee win, which is awesome to see. But tee us up here, getting back to Rhea and Jade. This is a big time match. And obviously there were some exchanges on Twitter. If you want to kind of just fill us in on that so we can react to that. Between the two ladies. It looks like
today there, or even into last night, there was and not knowing if it's scripted, a work, or what it is. We're not going to speculate on either one or the other, but Jade Cargill had some comments about Rhea Ripley, talking about her crying to creative. If you remember last year at leading up to WrestleMania, Rhea was added to that triple threat match, and it came off on TV like she was added in due to some creative decision. Now, whether that's a work or a shoot or whatever the case may be, it was alluded on Twitter that basically Rhea was put in this because she cried to creative, and there was exchanges talking about Rhea fired back and said, all you do is talk and that's it. You don't wrestle, alluding to Jade not defending the on TV, which has gotten she's gotten a lot of flack since she's been champion, and it just kind of snowballed into some nasty comments being made, some obscene stuff, and also a couple other talent chimed in on Jade, and there's been some reports that Jade has been a polarizing factor in the locker room. Now, we're just speculating. We don't I don't know. I'm just a guy doing a podcast with my buddy. So we're not going to sit here and speculate, but we saw what we saw online. Whether it's real, whether it's a great work, I'm more intrigued about this match now than ever before. I was intrigued with this matchup only because if anybody can bring out the best of Jade Cargill, it's Rhea Ripley. And I see people talking about, oh, Rhea's been in 5-6 straight WrestleMania main events. You know what? She's darn deserved it because she's the best woman on this roster. And she puts on banger after banger match. So, I mean, it's been a whole year since Rhea's been in the title picture, right? She got put in tag with Io, and they did an amazing job. And I said this earlier in the year. We needed Rhea back because there really hasn't been anybody that's really stepped up. They tried, and say what you will about Stephanie Vicaire. She's had an okay reign, but I haven't been wowed. I'll just say that. They've brought in Julia to the main roster. That hasn't worked. Tiffany Stratton, that didn't work. Bianca's been injured. Naomi went out with pregnancy. There's been opportunity for somebody to step up. But guess who's back in the picture? And don't mention Charlotte hasn't been in the title picture either. So there's been opportunity for others to step up. And Jade has gotten that opportunity. But now it's come to a head where these two are going to face each other. And it's going to be really interesting what happens because what happens if Jade comes out in this match and this match is a stinker against one of the best? I think, based on these comments, if any of that's true, if she has a bad match at WrestleMania, do they really put her in that position ever again? That's a big question right now because she's kind of laid it all out there that she feels like she deserves to be in this spot. Well, she needs to prove it at WrestleMania against the best. And the best is Rhea Ripley right now.
Well, listen, this is you got me?
Sorta.
You guys got me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, bud? Yeah, I'll just say, I can. You're kind of cutting out in and out. Like I hear you, but then you cut out. But I just think that if you're gonna put these two together at WrestleMania, it's got to be a great match. Otherwise, the questions are still going to be out there about Jade, especially if Jade goes over. So, I don't know what direction they want to go, but we shall see because this is a high profile match now. If it wasn't before, it definitely is now because all this talk, whether it's some of it, and there's probably a lot of truth into some. There's probably some truth and there's some story mixed up together. We're probably never going to know unless they put it on Unreal, and then we'll see how that all plays out. But I'm very intrigued for this match, and I'm looking forward to seeing the build up now because Rhea has already said she's going to go to SmackDown and confront. So, do we get some of that animosity from the Twitter beef or the X beef, and now does that come out on screen? And we kind of saw that last year too with Tiffy and Charlotte, where some of the personal animosity, some of the personal stuff got put in there, and we saw how that played out. So we shall see. But I'm very pleased that Rhea won that match. I think she's the right person. And again, if anybody can make Jade look like $1 million, it's gotta be Rhea.
How we doing now?
There we go. He's back.
The internet dropped for a minute. I'm like, what the hell? My apologies.
There you go. We're still. Yeah, I just finished up my rant on Rhea and Jade.
Yeah, listen. As far as this goes, Get rid of this so I could see better. There we go. As far as all that goes, right? Like when it comes to the women's division, Charlotte ran roughshod. Why? Because she was the best. It's undeniable. And you hit on so many points on the opportunities for people to step in, step up. Liv, I think, has done a pretty good job of that.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I think she's in the position that she's in, you know, and then, you know, I just think that Rhea has become such a big name. Like your QB1 says that she's the most over person in the company. And that's an earned spot. And she had to earn that spot in a time where Charlotte is still working at her prime or close to her prime. So I think she's earned it. You're right. We stepped her away for a while. We let her work with EO. We let other women have an opportunity. There's one I will say it week in and week out that's just never going to get it that should, and that's Chelsea Green. So outside of that, we've seen what the others are bringing to the table, and right now it's still Rhea Ripley. Mm-hmm. And again, the thing that's important about this is this could be a marquee matchup, a marquee victory if Jade does go over, to stamp Jade as one of those top tier talents. You know, I think she still needs the signature win. We talk about signature wins all the time on this show. This is an opportunity for her to be. A loss for Rhea doesn't hurt Rhea.
No.
A win for Jade puts her in that category of made women with WWE. And it tees up that if we get something like a Bianca, if she's able to come back, say for SummerSlam or Survivor Series, and she's the one to take the title off of Jade, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, basically said what I said. Jade would benefit tremendously if she won this match, but it's got to be a good, clean, crisp match, because if she comes out and she's botching and she's missing spots, I don't know. I don't know if it even helps her if she wins this match. I think it's kind of one of those things where, unfortunately, the microscope is on Jade because she came from AEW. She came in with high praise. She has the look. She has the potential, and she's lived up to that potential thus far. But now, when the rubber meets the road, she needs to deliver at the biggest stage. And we're going to see if that happens.
Yeah, agreed.
I hope it does.
Agreed. Me too. Mean Metal Mike, welcome back, brother. I feel like I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Appreciate you coming back.
Yeah,
Seth
thanks.
versus Logan should be a good match. I agree. I think that could be one of the best matches on the card. Dynasty says, I don't know, man. I've been watching wrestling for years. Powerhouse versus powerhouse matches rarely work, in my opinion. Not to mention Jade's still very green, and they hide it well. It's Mania. She can't go to 8 to 12. I don't think she could go 10 minutes. Yeah. I think she would be fine with Rhea. Listen, everybody. Yeah. Goldberg went 20-something minutes with Gunther, and that dude could never go more than 3 minutes. So,
yeah,
I don't want to undershoot how good Rhea is and how great of an in-ring partner she can be for the people that get the opportunity.
I think if Jade has a match like she did with Jordan Grace a couple weeks ago, I think she'll be fine. I think that's probably her best match so far as champion.
Yeah.
I mean, she hasn't had many, but I think that match was passable.
Yeah. Dynasty, thanks for the comment on the audio.
Yeah.
Mean Metal Mike says Raquel is Diesel, Liv is Shawn Michaels. I see the turn coming. We agree with that. We talked about
Agreed.
that.
And I mentioned at the beginning of the show about somebody on the Raw side that I thought I would not have been upset about winning, and that was Raquel. She has come a long, long way since NXT. And not that she was bad. I just think she needed to, when she came up to the main roster, they tried her as a babyface, didn't really work out. She had to find her footing. And I think she's really found it. And yeah, you mentioned Diesel, 100%. I think it's it's a credit to her staying the course and then going into Judgment Day. I think that was the best thing. Not having as much pressure on her, because Liv is the main focus of the Judgment Day. And then when Liv went out, Raquel was now the focus with Roxanne. So I think that really benefited her, and she's really catapulted herself to, she's ready. I wouldn't have been opposed to her being in a match for the title at WrestleMania. Not at all. I think you saw a couple weeks ago when she fought Stephanie, she held her own. And I wouldn't have been surprised if she won that one. So I think she's on the cusp of being that next woman in line to be champion for sure.
Yeah, I also think quickly on the comment about powerhouse women versus powerhouse. I feel like with the women, it's a different set of rules because their powerhouse women are so incredibly gifted and athletic. It's not like you're talking about like two giant men, just massive bodies. And also there are exceptions to the rule. Look at Big Show and Mark Henry and the feuds they had. I thought they had tremendous matches. So
yeah. Can I go back to the Logan Paul Seth comment?
Let's we'll get to it one sec. Let me knock a couple of these comments out.
Okay, yeah, we're crunch on time.
Dynasty says he thinks Chelsea's going to win the money. I disagree. I agree with Pat here. I think Raquel is winning the money in the bank. That's why I want to get to this first, because it was kind of relating to what we were talking about.
Good call. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree. Raquel.
Yeah,
she's next.
I would love Chelsea winning Dynasty. So let's hope, because I don't know if you guys saw Cody Rhodes had some comments about Chelsea lately that were really, really strong and powerful about how good she is. She doesn't know how good she is, and for how understated she is for the effect that she has in the ring. So I hope the opportunity comes. I hope there's enough backlash from that Unreal and a reaction that maybe opens their eyes, but we'll see. Last one here, then we'll move back to Seth and Logan. Nia is another powerhouse female. That was great. Nia has very much improved. Love that her and Lash have their titles, by the way. But anyway, yeah, let's jump into that, Eric. You wanted to jump back to the Logan Paul situation with Seth Rollins. So go ahead.
So the events have happened on Raw last night with Paul Heyman getting taken out. I don't know about you, but I don't know if Seth is going to fight Logan Paul at WrestleMania. I don't know why you do that spot with Heyman without some repercussions from Heyman after that. And I just don't see Logan Paul being that person that's going to get revenge on Seth. Now, I know there's some injuries out there, and I think that at this point, if it's not Logan Paul, there's two options. I think the one probably not, but could you see him go to Brock Lesnar and say, hey, I need revenge on Seth. He took me out. I need you to take him out for me. Unless you're going with Oba, which hopefully is what they're doing. But you notice who they haven't really been talking about on TV lately. They haven't brought up Braun Breaker at all. And I know he's got the injury, but we're 6 weeks away. Could we possibly get Seth and Braun Breaker? I just find it hard to believe after last night that Logan Paul, he ran away with, chasing the mask guys, and then Heyman gets taken out. So it would just be, it doesn't feel right to me that Logan would be the foil that takes on Seth Rollins. You know what I mean? I just think, not that Logan's not a big star now, because I think he's right there. And clearly, after Elimination Chamber, he pinned 3 guys. It's clear that they love Logan Paul. However, I just think there's going to be another X factor that comes in to be the foil for Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And I mean, they haven't brought up Braun Breaker in quite some time now. I just find it hard to believe that Logan Paul would be that guy. And because I think after last night, it seems like we're getting an Usos versus Vision story where they're gonna collide at WrestleMania based on what happened with Jay. So I just find it could very well be Logan Paul and Seth, and I'd be okay with that. But after last night, I don't think they're going that way. I don't.
Yeah, no, you're probably. I don't know if it's Braun though, because
I know
his
injury, and that's the one that's holding me back with it. Is it's a torn, was it a torn bicep, right? Torn bicep. So like, unless he's just like going crazy and emergency rehab and he's young enough to recover quickly. I mean, we've seen it before with Cena with his pectoral. Like I wouldn't count it out, is what I'm saying.
It's not a pec.
It's
not a pec. It's a hernia.
Oh, he's got a hernia. That's right. That's right. Good call.
So his injury.
It happened right after Royal Rumble, right? So it's been like 3 weeks.
So this is where we're at, right? The estimated recovery for a hernia injury and surgery. He just had surgery like 2 weeks ago. It is 12 weeks to 6 months. So we're looking at 3 to 6 months. He would have to cut that the low expectation in half. I just don't see it happening. There's optimism from what I've read, but there's nowhere near close the optimism that they're writing it in. They might be penciling it as a possibility.
Yeah. I think I'm just trying to say, don't count it out, because I just think how that all went down last night, it's kind of just like, all right, you're going to get Logan Paul, which is going to be a great match. They've fought before at WrestleMania. It's going to be good, but I wouldn't count out somebody else at this point either, because we're still 6 weeks away.
Yeah. So it would literally be right at the gun. And that's a best case scenario that he has a perfect recovery, which doesn't always happen. Me Metal says, imagine the foil is Chris Jericho. Yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like
status is.
I almost feel like they're setting up two possibilities and they don't know the road they're going, because I agree with you in terms of the tag team title. We've talked for months that we kind of thought that was the original. It probably was the original plan of having the Vision with those specific two superstars, Theory and Logan Paul, to be the ones that take on the Usos for the tag team title. I do think with all of these injuries, though, they are opening doors for the possibility of shifting and getting us to Logan Paul and Seth Rollins. Again, we'll see. I don't know, but I think it's extremely, extremely optimistic to get Braun Breaker back before. And I never want to see a guy hurt, so I hope that is a possibility.
Because the match I just last night, I just thought like how graphic that blood, and not that Logan Paul is a bad choice. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's just where the real story isn't with Logan Paul. And I know you got injuries, right? Logan Paul wasn't even in the Vision at that time. So it's like, and it's a shame that Bronson got hurt, because I think maybe that was the plan for Mania, where, all right, Seth versus Bronson Reed, there's story there from a few years back and with the Vision. But maybe it's to the point where it's like, we don't have another option. Like you said at the top of the show, where it's like, we need to scrap this quick. We got to give Seth back. We got to do something at Mania. Here's what we got to work with. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I think it just for me, that graphic scene of Paul Heyman all bloodied up in that ambulance, I just think Paul, knowing where that wise man mentality that we've seen on TV over the last few years, he's got to have another plan up his sleeve. And I just think it could be somebody else that we're not looking at right now.
Yeah. So Pat, in response to this, quick response, because we definitely got it. We still got to get the Punk and Reigns, and we are running short on time. I don't want this. I hope it's not the direction. Obafemi, as he is, does not need any mouthpiece. He does not need Paul Heyman. This man will get over on his own. He's already getting massive reactions. So I hope not. He can replace Brock without having to have Paul Heyman. So we'll see. It's not an impossibility, but I would love to not see that. I feel like that would be a negative for him. Let him continue his momentum and keep moving on his own. Quick thoughts. We got AJ winning the Intercontinental. He agrees with us on that. AJ wins the Intercontinental title from Becky. We already have, Becky calling crooked this, crooked that. She's going off on her tirades. I like Becky chasing, so I'm excited for this actually, and it's something different. So I don't know if you want to add something on that, but we can. If not, we can move on to that.
I think it needed the title change only because I thought. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The story since after Royal Rumble, I wasn't a fan of it. I think they could have easily dug into more stuff than they did, like Divas era versus Modern era, like that kind of stuff. Like we didn't really see that. We saw them trying to be comical, especially Becky, and I think they were trying a little too hard for that. But I am intrigued to see. I'm intrigued to see who AJ is going to fight first. I think probably be Bailey or Lyra, but it'd be good to see that match and then lead up to the rematch at Mania. But yeah, I don't think there's much surprise that AJ won at all.
Agreed. Honestly, I don't want to see Becky and AJ at Mania. I hope that's not the direction we go. Steven says, good Raw last night. We agree, brother. It was one of their better Raws they've had in weeks, outside of the AJ stuff. David Rosca says, yeah, that's not going to happen, buddy.
Main event anywhere in the world, baby.
Yeah. Two more quick, one more topic. And then we're going to get your quick thoughts on two things I want to ask you about. CM Punk, Roman Reigns, another amazing, excellent fire promo last night. The history that they're pulling from these guys is so tremendous. They're talking, Roman's talking about you're posting stuff, making yourself look like a choir boy, and you're carrying the flag for the company. You're hanging out with my cousins, but they're telling me what's really going on behind the curtain, behind your back. Like what they're diving into on this is awesome. I don't know how you can't be excited for this matchup, but I just want to get your quick thoughts on what we saw last night between Punk and Roman, setting up again. I think this has the potential to be one of the greatest main events of all time. I really do. I think they're doing so good at teeing this up at a time where outside of the story, Eric, you could go over the last 10 years and say sometimes we've really questioned the build to the main event or one of the main events with two nights. I think they're really knocking it out of the park here.
Yeah, and I think, based on that first one we saw after Royal Rumble, they had to step up their game, and did they ever last night? Talking about I'm going to bury you next to your dead father. Woo! Talk about the reality shaded in there. It always makes for good TV, and it always makes for a great story. And these two are they're just knocking it out of the park. I mean, it's a lesson for any of these young guys that are coming up. This is the standard right here that you need to live up to. If you're gonna be a big star, you've got to be able to give it, and you got to be able to take it. And I think these two are just masterclass right now. I'm sure they're putting their heads together, like, hey, don't let anything, like, don't hold anything back, because the more heat we get with this, the more the people want to see it. And that's exactly what they're doing. It was great. There's not much more I could say. It's just continue doing that. And they haven't laid a finger on each other. those are the best. We've talked about that before, where the best promos are when the two don't even touch, and the heat is just coming off. It's nuclear, and we're still 6 weeks away. What else are we gonna get from these two? I can't wait.
Oh, it's been so good. It's been so good. And obviously we're going to continue to follow that. You weren't here last week. I'm going to ask you about two things, both relating to the same thing. I want to get your thoughts on AJ Styles going into the Hall of Fame. And also I want to get your reaction to so incredibly overdue the announcement yesterday that Demolition is
here
finally
comes the axe and here comes the smasher.
It's so good. That induction is so overdue for Axe and Smash Demolition, but we're finally here. We're finally getting it. The three that have been announced for this class so far, Eric, I am over the moon ecstatic for, and I want to get your thoughts on the announcement of AJ Styles, how that was done, and the well-deserved induction of Demolition pending now.
Yeah, so I'll start with AJ. I mean, so well deserved, and it kind of put to bed the rumors of going somewhere else and all that stuff. Chrome was right on it. He was right on it.
I was on it. Let me jump in here real quick too. Two things. Eric's on a cruise ship, so he has no service. The only time he actually got a couple messages, because we were able to go back and forth a little bit, was I was so worried about spoiling something for him because he wasn't able to say it. And we have our chats, right? We talk to our other co-hosts and people, kind of what's trending. We share stuff throughout the week. So I didn't know how long we could go without spoiling it for him. So I just said to him,
I just said you might as well tell me.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell you the rest.
I was playing Disney song trivia, and I get a buzz on my phone, and I'm like, oh, hey, I got service. No joke. Yeah, I mean, such an incredible moment, and they did it so well. Had his family there. I mean, that's the stuff that's reserved for legends, and I love the fact that Undertaker's kind of been this now, kind of like the NFL, where they knock on your door and like, hey, welcome to the club.
That's it. Yeah,
and I just love that little nugget now that's added to the lore of the Hall of Fame, where now the induction part is just as important as the actual induction itself. At the announcement and now the induction part, and those pieces are very important now. And they've started out a few years ago, but now you have an ambassador. You have the Phenom, the Undertaker, as that.
He's the face of the Hall of Fame
for that moment now, and I think he's the perfect guy for it.
Yeah, he's your face for the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Everybody knows who Undertaker is. You see, I'm like, oh, that's Taker. But the moment was just amazing. Having his family there, having the talent there, having Abyss there, and some of the other talent. The guy that he teamed up with in WCW was there in his debut match in WCW. Had some of the other guys. Kazarian was there too, right? Yeah, I mean he had the who's who of AJ's history. So such a great moment.
Petey Williams was there. Spud was there. There was a picture on social media with I think everybody but Petey Williams. I don't know why he wasn't in the picture. Robert Roode. It was a bunch of the old TNA guys that he's worked with, where everybody got a picture with him in the ring once Raw went off the air. It was cool.
It's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think well deserved. I mean, he was going to go in at some point, but I'm glad they're doing it this year. And
this was a message to AEW that you could keep offering, but he's going into the Hall of Fame.
That's a good point.
And if I remember correctly, you could tell me, maybe you saw this. I thought I saw a report this week that he has signed a new deal with them where he is going to be a part of the developmental portion. So
I saw Denise Salcedo report that.
It's not that he has to be there every week, but he will come in. He is now he is an employee of WWE under contract as some kind of an ambassador for the development of the younger talent.
And what's good about that is he lives in Georgia. He can go to Orlando really quick. He's not far from
Like an
his
hour and
family.
15-minute flight.
He wants to be a family man for his wife and kids, and you have to admire that from him. I mean, he was able to provide a living for them for 20 some odd years, and now he's able to give back to them and be part as they're growing up. So you can't fault the guy for wanting to be there with his family. It's just such a great story for him and his family. But yeah, I thought it was tremendous. Demolition, dude, it's about damn time.
Here comes
And
the
those that have
axe.
only been watching wrestling for the last like 20 years or so or less, this is a really big deal. This was the team that was compared to the Road Warriors. And they had that.
Well, they were WWE's original response to the Road Warriors, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a lot of comparison between, the Crockett's Road Warriors, and then we bring in Demolition to the WWF in the 80s. And that team was just a dominant force. They were different than everybody else. They were powerful, strong. They had the look. They had the charisma. They were good heels. They were good baby faces. They were just the team of that era. If you think of teams in the late 80s and even the early 90s to an extent, you thought of Demolition. And for those two to get recognized is a tremendous moment for them, I'm sure, because they probably felt like, when is it going to happen? We're not getting any younger. And I'm glad they're getting their due. And one more thing, I hope, and I think you might have brought this up, where the Hall of Fame is kind of getting to a point where it's, we're kind of putting a lot of people in, and there's a lot of people in right now. Like, maybe we get one more person, and let's call it a day.
Scale it back to 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah. And it keeps the Hall of Fame. You can let these talents get their flowers and be able to not like cut them off at like 5 minutes or whatever. You can let them go and it not be a long show. Plus, it lets you keep that crop of Hall of Fame class wide open, where you can, there's still guys that can highlight the Hall of Fame. Of course, there's the obvious one that we'll get within the next couple of years, and that's John Cena. But
Saudi,
I think you don't need to load the class. I absolutely agree with that, where keep it to like 4, maybe 5, maybe you put a celebrity in there. Who knows? But I mean, the guy who I want in, but we'll see if that ever happens.
Cyndi Lauper is not in the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's one that
it's wild to me.
Who brought that up on Lazy Booking? LaGreca brought that up. Why isn't Cyndi Lauper in the Hall of Fame?
LaGreca was on Lazy Booking.
Not Lazy. Yeah,
I know.
You know what? Bust it open.
Bust
Give me a look. It's been a long day, but no, LaGreca has said that. Cyndi
Please,
Lauper
Dave, come on the show,
I
though.
couldn't agree more.
Dave, we'd love to have you. Come on the show.
Yeah, sure. Bring Bully, bring them all. Bring Tommy, bring them all. But yeah, I think I'm really excited for the Hall of Fame this year with this class. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. They're 3 for 3 in their selections, and
absolutely,
Demolition to me is a long oversight. And again, for that, to wrap that up there, if you go back to doing 4 or 5 and you do that for the next, say, 10 years, you're allowing the cupboard to restock, because it is so bare at this point that it's almost like the rate they were going and inducting people, there was like the Hall of Fame ceremony was going to be done. So I feel like you had to pump the brakes. And to your point, exactly. To me, you designate one as your main talker, your headliner. Mm-hmm. That's the person, they get an hour. Everybody else, if you're doing 3 or 4. The other 3 get 30 minutes. And that's plenty of time to talk.
Agreed. Plenty of time. And some people may not take that long. Maybe they don't but you give them the opportunity to be that to take that opportunity if they want it.
Agreed. So yeah, it's what we got. We covered a lot of topics. We went way over again, but that's fine. We gave you a little buffer for the hockey guys.
Yeah.
The road to WrestleMania is here, guys. We're going to be really ramping up. I think me and Eric are going to solidify this week, and we will solidify this week and announce next week when we're going to do our WrestleMania 8 watch along. We'll be in communication. We're excited for that. I think Billy said he wants to participate in some of these too, so That'll be great. We'll plan a few things out and we'll throw them out there for you guys next week and maybe a couple weeks after that. We got some other things in the works. It is WrestleMania season. We're super pumped. And we have to give our love again to our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. We also want to encourage you guys. We hope you enjoy our show. Come back and see us. We're on Tuesday nights. Not always exactly the same start. Sometimes it's 5:30. Sometimes it's tonight's a little later than usual. We had to do a 7 o'clock start. That's not usual for us. Usually we start between 6:30 or 5:30 and 6:30. So you come back, but you will know if you set your alerts on A2D radio when we go live, you'll get a 30-minute heads up that we're going live. You can also check the page. Typically, we have the link set up and ready to go a couple hours beforehand. It'll tell you when we're starting. So that is on A2D Radio's social media pages. Search A2D Radio. You can also find our social media pages. This is our Instagram and A2D's Instagram, but you can find us. We also have our own channel on YouTube where we do our own. We drop this show usually late at night, of like later tonight it would be, or sometime tomorrow morning, as well as we have old episodes archived. We have other special episodes we've done. Roundtable. We did a Survivor Series roundtable. We did a Royal Rumble 92 match watch along and other fun stuff. We have anecdotes with Arch, which we drop typically once a week. And that's on me. It's been a crazy couple weeks and Eric was away. But we're going to get back to doing that. We're going to be putting a lot of WrestleMania stuff out there. So make sure you guys jump in, join us there, find us there, give us a follow. This is the handle if you need that for our YouTube page. You can check us out there. I think that's it. Right?
Get ready for the ride of your life with the Lazy Booking Podcast on the road to WrestleMania, baby.
You got it. Thank you to everyone who commented, who joined us. You guys rock.
Yeah, thank you so much for your participation. That means a lot to us.
Every week, you guys do a tremendous job of joining us and getting into the conversation. Obviously, we follow up and we interact with you guys. We're not just popping your comments on the screen. We're talking to you guys. So please come back and see us again next Tuesday night here on A2D Radio. And stay tuned. Top of the hour, 9 o'clock hour. Flyers Talk A2D comes at you with Maddie, with Pove, with Daly. You're doing a phenomenal job. For
4
myself,
points out. Let's go Flyers.
Hey, we need it. For myself, for Eric, for Tom Arno, and everybody here at A2D Radio. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And as Andy always says, tell somebody you love them.
We out.
We out.